What's up everyone, I'm back with another one of my builds explained videos. In today's episode I'm going to be doing a turret McGinnis build. And so basically what I'm going to do in this video is explain why you would buy all these items and what situations they would be good and like when you would want to pick them up. Because I feel like a lot of people, anyone can follow a build left to right, but most people don't know why or when you would buy certain items. So I'm going to explain when and where and what I'm looking for to buy certain items. So I like this build. I think it's very good. Naked Spirit McGinnis. I think the way that he has everything set up is very good, and it's very much split into early game, mid game, and then, or this isn't mid game. This is like late game. Like once you have escalating, you're kind of online. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then these are optional, and like I'm a big fan of Leech. Armors are always good. Reach is always good on the turrets, so Healbane's also very good as well. But alright, I'm gonna start explaining like the main laning items and like what situations I would buy them in. So restorative shot. Like let's say first wave, first two waves, we both go back to our shops to buy. We both have 500. If I'm below half or I'm around half, I'm going to buy this item just because this is just natural sustain throughout the whole lane of being able to just get 40 health on demand is very, very strong. Don't scoff at this in terms of regeneration. I think it's a more aggressive style of regen rather than just buying like an extra regen. This is okay to buy, but I'm not a fan of extra regen. I think if you're gonna buy this, you might as well just buy healing right, especially since you're gonna build into health nova. So restorative shot, very, very good. But this is an item I would only look to pick up if I need some extra sustain in lane. And then most of the time I'm going to opt for a monster rounds. Monster rounds on McGinnis is very good because you already have so much power in killing minions that this really allows you to shove waves. And basically, when you're playing against McGinnis, depending on the characters you're laning against, you can almost do this against every character. Just sit by their stairs and just shove the wave and just continually shove into their tower. And like if you have wave prio the whole time, it's extremely hard to lose. And by wave prio I mean when your wave is going into their tower, that's wave prio. So this is a very good item. Like let's say this is usually the first item I would pick up if we did well. Like if we did well or we did bad. It's also, I might pick this up too the same time I'd pick up a restorative shot because it gives you an extra health regen and like pretty good. Never scoff at more health regen, just allows you to stay in lane longer. And like health regen is very good against poke. Like if you're playing against a Geist who pokes a lot, health regen is very good because sometimes you just can't avoid the bombs, and the passive regen of health is extremely good. Healing right. This would be the only something I would buy if I'm like, oh crap, this is going to be a hard lane. I'm going to need a lot of regen. And then if I were to pick up this item, I'm probably going to be picking up Health Nova early, because if you get Health Nova like first or second item in lane, you almost can't die. Like if you play correctly and you play around your Health Nova, you just have so much sustain for you and your teammate. This is talking about dual lane. In a solo lane, I would probably opt to not get this, just because it's not as good in a solo lane because it only heals you. And like the way Health Nova works is you get an extra 20% depending on the ally, so it's extremely good when you have two people in the dual lane. So, but I'm going to mostly be speaking about dual lanes because McGinnis is better in dual lanes. You also have a lot of sustain with your 2, so I would say this is a situational item depending on the matchup in the lane. Mystic Reach, this is extremely good. This is for your turrets, wall, ultimate. This is just a very high value item on McGinnis. Very, very good. Makes your heal bigger. Like this gives you everything you want. Enduring Spirit, this is just a little bit more sustain in lane because you're going to get that 10% spirit power, and like your turrets are going to give you some sustain. Extra charge, best item, like best 500 item in the game. Getting a whole nother turret just for 500 is absolutely ridiculous. That's crazy. And then Mystic Vulnerability, this is what's going to allow your turrets to really start racking up damage, because if you didn't know, when they take spirit damage, their spirit resist gets reduced. And so basically every time they're getting shot, they're losing 12% spirit resists, and that's absolutely ridiculous. This item is extremely good on any spirit character. Like, let's say you're playing a Geist, her bomb, every time someone takes bomb damage, they're going to lose spirit resist. Like 12, 24, 36. I almost can't even keep up. And if you see the damage, I wish I could see the little numbers better, but you can kind of see them. There is a max. There's a certain amount of spirit resist you can have, but removed. But extremely good item. This is what allows your turrets to truly start doing damage. Suppressor. This is just going to allow anyone getting hit by your turrets to just do less damage than you. And that's extremely crucial to this build, is that it's almost like a sort of... It's almost a sustained build in the fact that you want to stay alive longer than them, which is like any other build, but because your turrets are going to just rack up damage, they're going to rack up the Mystic Vulnerability, so... Suppressor is going to allow that fire rate slow, they're just going to do less damage, which self-explanatory, very, very good. Health Nova I already talked about. Slowing bullets, this is just going to allow you to run people down. When you're shooting, you're a little bit slower, and so when you pick up a slowing bullets, this allows you to run people down, and it also allows you to keep people in your turrets. Because anyone that's... The way you have to play tournament against is you have to put your turrets in a place that the enemy has to come to, if that makes sense. Like, let's say I'm fighting, these are the enemy's turrets, I'm fighting someone. If I was to see this, I'm just running away. Like, it is that simple to counter McGinnis. So you have to be in places that the enemy needs to be. And a really good example of this would be the Rejuve. Like, let's say we're trying to take Rejuve and they want to steal it. They have to come into the turrets. Like, that's a very good example of how to place yourself in a position to force the enemy to come to you, because it takes time to set up turrets until you get the rapid recharge, which actually I can talk about that. I'll talk about that in a second. But heroic aura, extremely good, gives you bullet lifesteal, crazy on McGinnis's gun, bonus health, move speed, and it also is an active item, and it makes your turrets let me do no cooldown. You see all your turrets get the buff as well, so you're basically just giving them 40% more fire rate, which on top of this, like, just look at that. And like, this is I don't even have that many items. Like, this is a 9,000 souls. This is not a huge item, or a huge amount of souls. The hard part is, though, getting people to just stand in front of the turrets, and that's why the skill gap comes in creating scenarios where people are in front of your turrets. Okay, so now we're on rapid recharge. Very self-explanatory. This gives you another ability charge, and it also allows you just to place turrets a lot faster. And so this will allow you to make more plays of, like, this. This is where the wall starts coming in of, if you hit a wall on someone, you can get 3 turrets down pretty quick, drop a heal and a heroic aura, and they're just going to explode. Spirit lifesteal, this just gives you way more sustain. Basically, you become a fortress once you get this item, because if anyone wants to fight you on your turrets, they just lose, because every second they spend shooting your turret, you're healing, and they're not doing damage to you. So let's say they start shooting you and they don't shoot the turrets, then you're going to be healing off the turrets shooting them, and you're going to have bullet lifesteal on your gun. This is what I'm trying to get to as, like, this is a very sustain heavy build. Enchanter's Barrier. This is an item you could opt to in lane depending on who you're playing against. Like, if they have heavy poke, I would pick this up probably if I'm going against, let's say, a Geist Kelvin, just because my barrier is going to tank all of the nades, and it's also just going to make my turrets better. And like, the earlier you can get a barrier, the better. So if you can save for this in lane, first or second item, never a bad purchase. Never a bad purchase. And so that's something, like I was saying earlier, that, like, you need to be thinking about items that are going to give you an advantage. You should never follow a build left to right. Like, I'm explaining the build left to right, but now that I see Enchanter's Barrier, and I realize I should probably talked about this in laning, because this can be a laning item. Don't ever pigeonhole yourself into following a build left to right. That's what I'm trying to say. Very good item. Escalating exposure. If you can pick this up early, I would also pick this up early. Like, let's say you 15 minutes into the game, you have 6,000. I would go for this just because this is going to allow your turrets to just do so much more damage. Because it's, if you didn't know, it's going to remove spirit every time they're hit, and it's also going to amp your spirit. So you do more spirit and they have less spirit resist. This item is extremely good. This is the core of the build. This is what's going to allow you to do a ton of damage. Improved cooldown. This is just to get more turrets, like, because you can have, I'm just going to do no cooldown for an example, but you can have as many, there's no limit on turrets. The only limit is that they all have like a health bar, and they all have a time of life. Like, they're only alive for 3 minutes, I think, around that. Don't quote me on that, but so basically just the more turrets you can get down, the better. We're gonna spirit, same thing with spirit cooldown. I don't really need to explain it. Put it on turret. Mystic slow. So slowing bullets and mystic slow together is absolutely ridiculous. This is just gonna allow you to keep people in your area. Like, once you start getting items like this, people almost can't run away from your turrets. Like, let's say I'm behind this veil and I set up all these turrets. If someone's to cross this line right here, this is what I would do. And this is what you should do too. Is, let's say they're right here. There's nothing they can do. Because once I stack the Mystic Slow and the slowing bullets on them, they just can't get away from me. If you do a good wall, it's all about the wall. McGinnis's wall, this is her best ability. The wall will make or break a good McGinnis player. Especially once you get that stun on them. Like, you can really start going crazy. Healing booster, very self-explanatory. This is just going to give you way more lifesteal, basically. This isn't necessary. Like, let's say you're ahead. Your team is stomping them, and you already have enough lifesteal. You don't need to be like a more frontliney. You don't need to take damage. I would skip this. Not necessary. And so now we're going on to the optional items. Improved reach. Turret. This is never a bad purchase. Never a bad purchase. This will allow you just to control more space. Like, McGinnis is a space control character. And so by allowing your turrets to have more range, like, how much range does this give the turrets? It gives them 5 more meters. So, pretty good. 5 meter, don't scoff at 5 meters. And it also buffs everything else. It makes your ultimate circle bigger. It makes your, oh my god, it makes your heal bigger. Like, all stuff like that. Like, McGinnis benefits from range a lot. Don't ever scoff at this item. Very, very good. Highly recommend it. Superior duration. Turrets every time. You basically imbue everything in turrets. This will just allow the turrets to be on the ground longer. I don't think this is super necessary. It's definitely never a bad purchase, but most of the time, if the 3-minute duration isn't enough, then there's kind of a whole different problem of you're not putting your turrets in the right spot. Like, you want to be putting your turrets in spots, like, let's say someone's right here on this pillar and I'm in lane. I'm going to put my turret right there so that they can't look at the turret and me at the same time. Like, you want to treat your turret as an extension of yourself, and the best way to do that is to make the enemy choose between shooting you or the turret. And the way you do that is by putting it, you want to imagine what the enemy's seeing. This is a concept that's very important in Overwatch when you play tank, is thinking about what the enemy tank is seeing and trying to put yourself in a position where they can't see you, where they have to turn around and, like, look away from their team to look at you. A very important concept. And so it's very similar with the turrets. Like, let's say I'm fighting someone right here. I'm going to throw a turret. That's a bad one. But if I was over here, it'd be a good turret. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Armors. never bad. Like, depending on the composition you have, like, let's say you have an Abrams, a Moen, Krill, a Warden, you have a bunch of tanky characters, you probably don't need to frontline. But this build has the ability, it has the option to frontline if you need to. Like, this build is extremely versatile. McGinnis is just a versatile hero in general. And so, armor's pretty self-explanatory when you would need to buy them. There's not a ton to explain about them. I would just say, if you need them, get them, depending on what the enemy has. If they have, let's say they have a Haze, a Wraith, and like an Abrams, they're very bullet heavy, buy a bullet armor. You don't need the spirit armor. Like, armors are universal for every character. Okay, Leech. This would be, if you're going for a more tank build, I would go for Leech a little bit earlier than any of these other items. Before I would even get maybe escalating, I'd go for a Leech. Leech is extremely situational. Like, it's when you need to be a frontline. Like, you almost need to choose what you want to be. And, like, that's why I keep saying, like, you never want to follow a build left to right. You always want to be thinking about ways that you can get ahead. And the way you get ahead in Deadlock is through items. Items and having more money and all that stuff. But it's a huge skill gap in every MOBA is how you build your characters. And I guarantee you right now, the best players in the world never follow a build left to right. You shouldn't either. Fake it till you make it. Colossus. This is just another tanky item. This will just give you a ton of health. Gives you a bunch of, it's an active item that gives you a bunch of resist. So if you're gonna go tank McGinnis, Leech, Colossus, you're good. You're good. Refresher. You might be thinking, oh, why would I buy Refresher? I want Echo Shard for turret. So the way Refresher works is it's going to refresh all 3 turrets. Like, you're going to be able to create more of a fortress with 6 turrets, whereas if you were to buy Echo Shard, yes, you can do 2 turrets, but you can't do 6. You see what I'm saying? Like, this provides a bigger burst of value. This is more sustained value. See what I'm saying? Because, like, this is ridiculous. Like, this many turrets, absolutely. Like, imagine you're in the pit and then to end the game and you drop this on their head. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you peek into 6 turrets with escalating all this spirit, you just die. Very good item. All right, last but not least, Healbane. Abrams, Moen, Krill, and Furnace. Honestly, against this build, I would build Healbane. Any build with high lifesteal, high sustain. Shiv, you'd build this against Shiv. Just purely for the healing reduction. Very, very good item. Highly recommend. This is something you would pick up earlier, though. It's at the end of the build, but this is an item I would pick up early to, like, you know when you're needing to Healbane, or you should start. As you get better at the game, as you play the game more, you're gonna start realizing what characters you have to buy Healbane against, and so it'd be an item you'd pick up earlier. So yeah, that's this entire build broken down. I went through every item. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll reply to all of them. As you probably see, there's not a ton of views, not a ton of comments, so there's probably 0 comments, but I will respond. I will read it. I make 1 video a day. I do VOD reviews. I do build breakdowns. So if you enjoy build breakdowns, you enjoy VOD reviews, let me know. I'm really trying to push videos out to what people want to see. This game is very new. There's not a ton of content out, and so I will make any content on the game. I'm not the best player in the world, but I'm also not the worst, and so I feel like I have a better view on the game than a lot of extremely high MMR players, just because the game up there is not played the same way. That's true for any game, that once you get to a certain rank, the game is never played the same way. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Make a video a day, so I'll see you in the next video if you watch another one.